Hello and good morning. My name is Steve Pugh. It's Friday, the 25th of March 2022. I must admit, I wasn't even sure if I was going to do today's one. I was really knackered yesterday. I've had a really kind of long, kind of tough week trying to get stuff through. But actually, I decided to get an early night, wake up, feel refreshed, and actually, I feel quite good. I actually quite enjoy doing these. Good morning, Simon. Good morning to anyone. So my name's Steve Pugh. I have something called the Roadmap MBA. Which is a real-world business course, which is in 28 different countries now. What is it all about? Basically, it's to help hopefully millions of people with their business or career and really kind of simplify down really complicated business concepts, but actually just based on real-world experience and stuff that companies should do every day to kind of help them be successful. Often traditional business education, it's very good, but often it's very based on kind of theory and textbooks, and there's a lot of barriers to entry in terms of cost, the time required to read 800-page textbooks on policy and loads of kind of boring stuff that is great if you want to work in a major multinational or a bank or whatever. But actually the truth is, for 99% of people who either run their own business, they work in a business, or they're a student or someone trying to progress their career, the skills which will actually help you get noticed and grow aren't often taught on these courses, or they're too expensive. You don't have time. You've got a real life to kind of live. So one of the things that we do, and our mission is to make business education accessible, is for one, to communicate in different ways. So that we do live streams, we do podcasts, all of the content is in video form as well. And then likewise, rarely taking, say, a 400-page book on, say, sales. But actually, if it doesn't need to be 400 pages, if I think it can be kind of condensed down to 4 paragraphs, I'll do it. But the point is, it means you as the user really get the benefit, the really kind of good stuff very quickly, without the pain and the time of the cost of trying to find all this kind of stuff. The other thing that we do, we actually give you the whole roadmap to grow your business start to finish, hence the kind of name, all the way through from kind of setting your goals, ambitions, what is it that you want to do, what is it you're aiming towards, and in your career that could even be the job or the goal that you're aiming towards. What is it? How do we articulate it? Then we walk you all the way through from personal branding. What is it? How do you start to kind of create it? Skills that people look for when they either hire people or they hire a company to do a product or a service. What is it? How do we start to communicate that? We do 3 on business strategy, 1 on marketing, although marketing arguably is the most important one, which I'll talk about a little bit today. Then 3 modules on sales, some leadership and management, some stuff on mental health. And then likewise as well, as you kind of progress through your career, you get to a certain point where actually when you become like senior management director kind of level, it's really important to also understand the kind of financials behind a business. You start to look at something called a profit and loss account, a balance sheet, cash flow forecasts, and actually you don't often get taught that kind of thing. Often it's learning on the job. So we now have a module which basically helps give you enough confidence to be able to look at all of those things, understand what they are, understand some of the loopholes and things to kind of look at. But actually it's kind of 10 pages. It's not 600 pages of really dull stuff. And the whole point is to give you that extra kind of leg up and knowledge and development and stuff to really help you progress your business or career. And when you get to a certain point where actually you can kind of nail it and you know exactly what you're doing, then yes, if you want to, you can go into the more kind of complicated stuff. But it's meant to kind of plug that gap in the middle where I don't think there is anything in terms of at least one single kind of textbook or guide to help you walk through your whole kind of business or career. And the other big thing, which is a really kind of big mission behind the roadmap and what we're trying to do, is the mission of making business education accessible. That for me growing up, I could never have afforded a traditional MBA. I almost didn't go to uni because it was too expensive. But the point is, especially now with the cost of living going up and inflation and lots of kind of other stuff, I hate that there are financial barriers which artificially hurt poorer people, because if you don't have a spare 25 grand in the bank to go and do a business course, which let's face it, most people don't, you're kind of held back, or you're not able to kind of develop to your full potential. So even right now, just in a slightly different method, we offer anyone in the world, genuinely anyone in the world who wants to learn and work on their personal development, they can get in touch with me. You can reach out on the streams, on any of the socials, or on www.roadmapmba.com and get a completely free course. And I send them out to 28 different countries, from Ukraine to China to Ghana to India to America, that kind of thing. And part of the longer term mission is that we hopefully have an app coming towards the end of the year. And what we're really looking to do is do the freemium model, where basically anyone, anywhere in the world will be able to get 100% free access to all of the course, all of the pre-recorded videos, everything, because for me the community mission is really important. That actually I want someone who is in Indonesia, who hopefully can speak English, that wants to learn and develop their kind of business skills, to have them somewhere that they can go, which actually in my mind is the best information available for them and for what they do, especially in kind of a small business. But the point is they can access it at 2 a.m. in Indonesia, etc., completely for free, and really kind of remove the barriers to entry on stuff on business education. That's what I'm trying to do. The kind of paid, someone asked me yesterday, well, how will the business model work? So I do live classroom sessions 4 times a week in here, where we do it over Zoom. So again, you can join from anywhere in the world. And the whole point is that you can ask questions. We walk through the course. It is genuinely live. So it's a Zoom course. So it's a 2-way kind of thing. And we help you work on your aims, goals, aspirations, business, careers, and actually just understanding is an extra way to kind of teach. That most of the online kind of portals for business education stuff are kind of one way. So yes, whilst YouTube is free, and YouTube can be very kind of good, there's a lot of crap on there as well, but it can be quite good. It's all broadcast, and often the way that people, if they actually want to make a change, it often helps to just sense check stuff and say, look, this is my understanding. You know, is it correct? Is there anything else we could do, etc.? And that's why I really kind of love the interaction, etc. Speaking of interaction, you might have seen it at the start. If you comment on the stream, it should pop up on the screen. I'd love to know where in the world you're kind of watching from. Just generally say hello, because otherwise I'm just stood in a room talking to a camera for kind of 40 minutes. And the other thing that we also love to do is that if you're trying to develop your kind of business or career, unless you're, I say lucky, but basically it's never going to be one big magical thing that just happens. So for instance, even when Zuckerberg launched Facebook, it wasn't just bang done, $100 trillion company. There are thousands and thousands and thousands of small things and basically small wins that we should hopefully kind of celebrate. So I love it again when people celebrate the stuff that they've done this week. And especially on, say, Tuesday nights with Fina, who comes to one of the sessions, one of the things that we love to do is just talk about our progress for the week, stuff that we've done. And I talk about my honest project progress for the roadmap as well. Because again, as you kind of see this grow and develop over time, hopefully it just builds that little bit of trust. And trust is what I'm going to talk about today. Just in terms of, as a management consultant, I live and I breathe this all day, every day, that people hire me to make genuine change in their business. I don't just teach someone else's theory, I actually kind of do it, and actually I try and talk about how I believe you can kind of do it better as well. But please get involved in the comments, Simon. Nice. Watching in the middle of a field, walking home after a school run. Perfect. And again, that's part of the ambition for the roadmap, is that I accept that people have busy lives. You have school runs, you take the kids to swimming, you work shifts, you whatever. That's absolutely cool. So the whole point of making things accessible is that I want people to be able to join calls or streams on their phone anywhere in the world, whatever kind of works for you. And then likewise, if you don't see this stream when it's live, if you go onto YouTube and basically search for Steve Pugh Roadmap MBA, hopefully you can catch up at any point too as well. So I've got a few kind of recaps and stuff on the week, then I'm going to go into the main items and the topics that I'm kind of talking about today. One is actually a talk that I gave yesterday, which was very impromptu, which is actually how to innovate with your marketing and what does that even mean, which I think actually could be really interesting for a lot of people. I think there's a lot of misconceptions about what innovation really kind of means and ways and things that you can kind of do. So I'm going to talk about that. And then actually just again from yesterday, it was my first in-person event in quite a while, and actually I thought it was quite cool, but I'm going to talk about why, for me, in-person events are actually really important, why they'll hopefully kind of continue even in a post kind of COVID world, but I think why that's a good thing and why you should hopefully attend them if you kind of can. Okay, so I'm just going to switch to my laptop. There we go. So hopefully you can all see that okay. Hopefully it's going to come up. Is it? Yes, yes. Perfect. I haven't used the laptop in a while on the stream, so I just wanted to kind of mix it about a bit. If you managed to see it on Monday, I managed to speak to Josh Gill, who's the CEO of a company called Everflow Water. Josh was a recommendation as a guest, and actually it was a really, really good interview. And the thing that really kind of struck me is that he really kind of shared his knowledge and experience and stuff from his journey. And this is a company that's grown from nothing to Basically, they're going to hit £100 million turnover this year. So anyone that's built a company that turns over £100 million from scratch is probably worth listening to. But actually, he shared some really, really good practical advice on lots of different stuff. And if you didn't see it, check it out on YouTube. The full kind of recording is there as well, and all the different bits. And again, really fascinating guy, engineer by background, and it was just a really kind of great conversation. Coming up, no, that didn't work. It's funny. There we go. So coming up this Monday, so in 3 days' time, I'm speaking to a chap called Andy Preston. Andy is the mayor of Middlesbrough. He's a businessman, he's a philanthropist, and actually a really kind of good guy. He's been around on the kind of in the region and sector for a long time. And actually what I was really interested to do, and I'm hopefully going to do on Monday, is actually pick someone's brains about why did they go into public service? You know, what does it feel like to actually make an impact on your hometown, to be able to impact people's lives and actually almost take a business mentality and stuff to a region. And actually, you know, for someone that probably they're not doing it for the money, but actually that whole journey, but also kind of sharing his kind of entrepreneurship journey. I'm actually really looking forward to this one. So Andy Preston is on Monday. And last but not least, starting from the trial, which we did 2 or 3 weeks ago now. So Ashley King is going to start doing her, it's a regular slot, 9 a.m. every other Tuesday. And one of the big missions for me with the roadmap is that I get that not everyone wants to look at me and hear from me, and that's cool. And likewise, when we're looking to grow and scale, it can't always be me either. So Ash is going to present her own slot every other Tuesday morning to kind of do this and talk about different stuff. And one of the things that I think is really important is it's the diversity of thought and diversity of thinking. That as I'm almost 40, so almost as a middle-aged white man, I only have a certain kind of viewpoint on the world. And what I actually really enjoyed, both when I watched Ashley talk live, because I was sat there when she kind of did it, it's just a completely different viewpoint on the world and on business and on entrepreneurship. And that's something that I really want to do, that when we're trying to make business education accessible and relatable to different audiences, it's that genuine viewpoints and diversity from different people. And over time, hopefully you'll see different presenters at different times. And likewise, the feedback was also really cool from Ashley's kind of spot. So fingers crossed this Tuesday the 29th, Ash is going to do her next one as well. It's a trial, as in, you know, with any business, you learn and you iterate. It is actually very difficult to stand and talk to a camera just off the cuff with no interaction. But actually from her experience with TEDx Newcastle University and everything else that she's done, I knew that she would nail it. And then in the future, you know, I will be looking for other people as well, which kind of tick different boxes. And part of the longer term vision and plan is that in 5-10 years time, I would love to have different presenters in different languages of all different kind of backgrounds and diversities, and actually almost have a 24-hour stream. Don't worry, it won't be on your LinkedIn, just kind of broadcast all the time, to really just help give people access and learn from different people. So that if you've ever heard of Peloton, which is the kind of cycling home exercise kind of company, you can almost choose the class you attend and the people you attend with and who you want to learn from and what you want to do. And one of the things that I want to do almost with the roadmap is build the Peloton of business education that actually, hopefully, you know, it'll be quite good. And that's what I'm trying to build. So almost the first step was to do the trial run with Ash, which I must admit she kind of nailed. And then hopefully it's going to be a regular thing from next week as well. Okay. So I'm going to close this. Go back to my video. It's funny, you always have technical issues. Are we back on? We're back on. Perfect. Just going to have a quick sip of tea. It is actually quite funny when you do these because there's so much of a learning curve to do with both presenting all the content, but likewise doing all the tech and the swap overs and the slides and stuff. But actually, I kind of enjoy it. It is what it is. And thank you again to anyone that kind of tunes in. Please kind of drop a message in the comments, regardless of where you're kind of watching from. It could be a field, it could be the Middle East, it could be India, it could be anywhere. I love the interaction. And likewise, again, before on my offer about the free course, yeah, please feel free to reach out. Honestly, just send me a message. I will happily send one anywhere in the world. And yes, I have big ambitions, and yes, it costs me a lot of money, but it's that proof of concept and feedback allows me to keep iterating and getting better. And that is the whole point of why I'm doing it. And again, part of the reason why I do this is that yes, I talk about the theory and the stuff that you should do and whatever, but I kind of live and breathe it and practice it. And then likewise, through me doing that kind of thing or practicing to live stream or podcast, I can almost share what works and what doesn't work in this kind of format. Where actually it might save you a hell of a lot of time and money if you know trying things that don't always work or do work, and it's just part of my kind of journey that's probably quite therapeutic for me as well to kind of do. So the first one I'm going to talk about is so yesterday, technically the day before, I got a phone call to say that actually there was an expo, so a big, exactly what it is, a big trade show with lots of stands and exhibitors and attendees and stuff. And for one, a company that I work with called Harvey and Hugo, they have a really excellent service called Pay As You Go or Pay As Hugo, which is a pay as you go PR and marketing service. And I use it myself. I spend my own genuine money with them to do it. And I asked if I would help out on the stand, and I was delighted to, and I kind of love it. And it was really kind of great to attend. But about an hour later, another friend called Chris Thompson said that he was meant to be given a 45-minute presenting slot at the same event to talk about innovation in marketing, and would I stand in to do the slot. And with zero notice to do a talk the next day, with no slides, no prep, anything, what I essentially did, and I decided to take the chance and almost go for it, was this kind of thing. It was me at the whiteboard, just talk to the audience, be very honest about different stuff, but hopefully deliver value that they would have probably turned up to want Chris, and Chris is brilliant and that kind of thing, but almost just to take the chance to, stand up and do it and put yourself on stage. Because again, as a small business owner, even if there was, 30 or so people in the kind of audience, it's to almost start to build. If you build one connection of someone that kind of buys into what you're trying to do, or because of yesterday, we connect on LinkedIn, they follow the stream, it's all really good stuff. But I wanted to take the chance to almost do it, but then both deliver my talk and talk about the roadmap and what we're trying to do, but then likewise actually talk about innovation and marketing and why it's important, but actually how it's probably not as big or as daunting as you might think. And then based on doing it yesterday, I thought, you know what, when I was looking for ideas about what to talk about this morning, I thought I would do it again today. So one of the things that I always start with, and this is true for any good kind of marketer, and I did it yesterday, is that before you just start to broadcast and talk about your speech or your slides or whatever, is to find out actually who's in the audience. In some conferences, you know that in advance, so you know that it might be HR professionals or it could be whoever. Yesterday was actually quite a generalist audience, so I asked right at the start, who in the audience kind of owns or runs their own business. There was about 30% of people with that. Who actually works in someone else's business? I'd say that was most people, that was like 50%. And then there was a remaining kind of like 20% or so who were kind of students and or other, or they just didn't respond. But what was really interesting is that at least when you can ask the question about what's your background, you can then tailor the answers to different people. On a live stream, I can't really do that unless you comment in the box. So please kind of take that as given. But the point is, you can't really give a talk about marketing without really talking about the customer and the people that you're communicating to, because actually that's the most important thing. But I always kind of tend to start the talks is that if you take where you are today, most people on YouTube or in your network or even other companies who want to sell you stuff will say, look, you want to do more sales and marketing to grow the company. But the one thing that kind of misses is the whole point of it assumes that what you're currently doing today is as good as it can possibly be. And one of the big things that I've spoke about a lot on the roadmap stuff, and if you're bored of this, I apologize, but it's true, is to really look at your strategy. Really look at your fundamental strategy about what it is that your business does, where does it sit in the market, how is it different to competitors, and really get that as good as it can possibly be before you try and accelerate with sales and marketing. Because actually, imagine your product wasn't quite as perfect as it could be. Your market fit was okay, but not kind of perfect. The challenge you're then going to have is that when you then start to promote it, you're going to lose conversion rate because you haven't really optimized it first before you kind of do that. If you really optimize your strategy, who it is, what you do, and how it works before you then start to push, that's really important. But as a key part of that strategy to really understand who you are and what makes you special, is to look at your marketing first. And one of the big things that one of the big things that a lot of people get wrong is that they think that marketing is all about push and promotion and posters and social media and video and live streams and stuff. When actually the most important thing to do is look at the customer. So you always actually want to start with the customer and really develop a profile on the customer. Who are they? What makes them special? What are they interested in? What's their tone of voice? What are their beliefs? And really kind of, understand everything about what is it they're that they're looking for. And then likewise, again, looking at your own brand and positioning and price and how you kind of set that up. I think it's really important. And this is also true for careers as well. But I'm going to go on to that in a second. That for a business owner, as part of the strategy, one of the things that's really important to do is really hone down on your mission. What is the North Star? What is the thing that you're really kind of aiming for? So when you kind of know your goal, everything you should do, and I've spoken about this previously on the stream, is that you build your strategy to figure out how to get to the goal as quickly and efficiently as possible, and actually the ways that we kind of do that. This is also true for careers. So I was saying this to the students in the audience kind of yesterday, that you might currently be here, and you could be in college, you could be in university, it doesn't really matter, or even midway through your kind of career. If you have a goal in mind about what your dream job is, so there was a lady yesterday that said that her dream job was to, say, be a marketing director. One of the big things that we started to talk about was actually how start to create content, and within your marketing and comms and everything else, if you can be seen as an authority or an expert on a topic to really kind of show and demonstrate that you're really, really good at something, your ability to get promoted and hired and have people recognize your skill set for different stuff is mega important. But the point is, you need to know and almost know it in advance, because likewise, it would be very easy for someone to go through their career, just do their day-to-day stuff, and then wonder why they're never getting promoted or no one's offering them jobs to be managing director or marketing director or whatever it is that you want to do. But often it's because they're not actually creating the content and doing the stuff to build their personal brand. So again, the one of the things that most people, I think one person, Ashley Wright from Westray did, nobody in the audience had a necessary control or conscious thought about their personal brand. And the reason why this is important, either your personal brand or your company brand, is what people think about you and what they'll say about you behind your back. That actually this is so important that likewise, for the lady that wanted to be promoted to become marketing director, if within her personal brand, she has conscious thought of, I want to be here. So actually, I want people to think that I'm really good at marketing and know what I'm doing and they can trust me and lots of different things. She can then actually build her own marketing plan about the stuff that she talks about, the stuff that she comments on, the articles that she links, to start to plant seeds in the mind of the audience, that they start to see her as being someone that's really, really good at something, that either for a business, they will hire their stuff, they will buy them, they will buy their products or services, or in your career, you're a lot more likely to get hired for a job because people already think that you're really good at that kind of thing. And actually, one of the things that we teach in the roadmap is the conscious awareness of this whole process, because most people don't. They kind of go through their business or career and they don't really kind of think this through. But going back to the kind of the theme of the talk, which is also innovation and marketing, is that one of the big things to look at is actually with, hopefully you've heard of a sales funnel. And at the top you have awareness. And then at the bottom you have pound signs. This is where people actually buy your product. And then hopefully they keep buying your product as like a repeat purchase. But one of the big things that's really important to kind of do in your kind of marketing, it's to convert people that don't even know you exist. They've never heard of your company, your product, your service, the roadmap, me, whatever. It's to actually raise awareness so that actually there's 8 billion people on the planet, there's probably a tiny, tiny, tiny fraction of people that have ever heard of you, except if you're McDonald's, Coca-Cola, Tesla, Apple. But the whole point is of your marketing is to raise awareness. But the reason we do that is to try and build trust. Because the more people that trust you and they understand your aims and goals and what your technology does and your backgrounds and that kind of thing, they're a lot more likely to buy it, which is the end goal. Or in your career, you can treat that as being offered a job. But what we're trying to do is essentially build trust. But what's quite interesting when you talk about this and you go back to the innovation point, a lot of people confuse innovation with metaverse, VR, TikTok, new social platforms, that kind of thing. You know, it's always the new technology, the new thing. I actually disagree. And one of the points I made yesterday is that innovation can come from anywhere. And actually one of the things that I think is really important is to look and watch other industries to see what other people do, what does the makeup industry do to, you know, raise awareness on customers and that kind of thing. The car industry, what do they do? Obviously tech, etc. But the important thing in terms of innovation, yes, you have global innovation in tech that when Apple launches the latest iPhone, technically, yes, it's the newest iPhone. But in terms of innovation, in terms of your marketing, there are different things you can look at. So actually, so you have innovation in terms of, I'm going to say tech. So tech innovation could be, for instance, with when COVID hit, there was a major cultural shift. Everyone was working from home. There's a lot more stuff online. That actually the cultural shift to Zoom and online learning is something that I decided to capitalize on. That I could see the benefit with a live stream setup to be able to hit people all over the world at the same time. That likewise, I chose to kind of invest in that kind of sector. But the other thing that's really important to do, and this is the point of my talk yesterday, is that if you are, there was a lady in the audience who was from a local authority, so a council in the UK. When you look at your sector and your industry norms, so say if you work in, I'm trying to think of quite an old-fashioned industry. Actually, I'll use the same one. I'll use the public sector analogy. When I used to work for the public sector in the UK, it was now about 12 years ago. But one of the big things is that there was lots of support out there for businesses and stuff. It was loads of really good stuff that people could tap into. But the biggest issue that we had was actually trying to raise awareness. It was how do you reach out to people to actually kind of, connect and get your message across. And the whole point is, depending on your industry norm, so in the UK public sector, they probably have email, but realistically, how many of their local residents will follow Stockton Borough Council's email or read it? Probably not a huge amount. They'll still do traditional mail, which is quite cool. But innovation in this particular sector could be, I asked the lady what was her kind of aims and goals for what she was trying to achieve, and it was to hit and target local people. So the point was actually they could do something like Facebook ads, which is targeted within a 10-mile radius of their town. But the point of it is their innovation can be ways that are new to their industry or things that are new to your industry, which other people do and might have been around for a long time. But it creates the change to actually help you hit new people. Does that make sense? So for instance, when TikTok really kind of took off, that has, big angles for big B2C and lots of different, things. As I made the point yesterday, I'm too old and I can't dance and TikTok isn't for me. But likewise, your innovation doesn't have to, you don't always have to do every platform. There's a lot of people who are really uncomfortable on video that find it difficult to just talk and do stuff. It's something that I quite enjoy doing. But my also point was find what works for you, because likewise, if you hate doing video, don't do it, because it will come across badly and it won't get you the impact you want. And almost stick to your strengths. So I'm going to say, find what you love. Because I think that's a really important thing, is that with you could come up with the best marketing campaign the world has ever seen. But if you only ever do it once, nobody's going to care. What you really kind of need is consistency. It's a way to kind of build up brand awareness over time so that people even know that you exist. Hopefully over time they'll kind of get a feel for, oh yeah, I've kind of seen that Steve guy's got that business course thing, the roadmap. That's good, because at some point a year ago, they had zero awareness, and it's that kind of thing of where it does take time. But likewise, you need to find something that you actually quite enjoy doing, because if you hate doing it, you're not going to do it week in, week out. And that's kind of what you need to be able to build your brand and kind of build your awareness on different stuff. And the other thing that I wanted to kind of talk about is actually, so that's something called the standard deviation curve. And basically this is something that, you know, every population, if you look at heights, weights, whatever, kind of falls into this category where you'll get people at one end that are 7 feet tall, and you get people at the other end that are 3 feet tall, and then most people fit somewhere on that kind of mix. But in terms of kind of marketing and what you're kind of looking at, you can also actually separate out your population, your audience, into a standard deviation. That at one end, you have your early adopters. So these are people kind of like me that will buy a 360 camera when it comes out to try metaverse kind of stuff, or the new Mac Studio or whatever. That people that will always look for the best thing. So almost if Apple launches something that, even if it isn't very good, they want it, and they're early adopters. At this end, you have something called laggards. So these are people that probably still aren't on the internet. They probably don't have a mobile phone. You get my point. It's the people that just are the opposite end, where they're just not interested in technology and stuff. But the reason why I wanted to kind of talk about this, and then you have your mass market, which is kind of in the middle, which is probably where my wife would fall, my mum would be at the other end of it. But this is, your big kind of target market. But the point is, when you actually kind of create content, because there's so much competition out there, you can also draw this kind of graph in terms of how much people like or hate you. As silly as this sounds, something we kind of talked about yesterday is that you will have it where people just hate what you're doing. They just don't like you. They don't, So actually, you're going to have some people, regardless of what it is that you do and that you create, that just don't like your stuff. But the truth is, they're never going to buy it. And actually, in a business context or in a careers context, if they're never going to buy your stuff or hire you, don't worry about it. It's cool. At the same token, at the other end, you're going to have a small group of people that absolutely love what you do. They celebrate all your posts, like Simon, and they really kind of get involved. But the point is, when you create your content, just focus on the people that actually, you're interested in, that could have an interest in your product, etc. And actually, the others that fall on this side of the standard deviation, don't worry about them. Almost, it doesn't matter if someone doesn't like your product or they don't want to buy a business course. That's cool. You're not kind of who I'm targeting. But the point is, never let one thing kind of put you off. Or if you're daunted about creating content or putting yourself out there, don't worry about the people that don't like you, because they're never going to like you. And actually, there will be people that really love what you're doing, and they see you being out there and talking about your story and your journey. That actually, it's just really important to kind of do that and not give up faith in kind of what you're looking to do. And it's just that kind of thing that, again, when you're looking to innovate in terms of your marketing, your innovation could even be just a way that you want to post more often. So even if you know that your main target market is on LinkedIn or Instagram, say, just innovating to actually post religiously once a day, say, or for me with the live streams, I do twice a week. I do Mondays interviews, Fridays kind of live streams. And actually, to a lot of people, anyone could do this from your laptop on your phone. You could start a broadcast tomorrow, but very few people do. And the reason why very few people actually adopt is that it's scary, it's daunting to kind of do something new. But actually, if you can get on the bandwagon of new technology and stuff that's going out there, you can really get massive gains. But even in your sector, if you are in a sector which maybe isn't as technically advanced as others, there was a lady in the audience yesterday who's a mortgage broker. And my point was, when we started the talk, in her mindset, it was all to do with how she was going to target people within 10 miles of her town of where she lives. But I made the point, well, actually, with the internet, you can actually sell to anyone in the UK. So the point is, you can actually build a brand of whatever you wish to be known as an expert on a topic, which could be mortgage broking. but it doesn't have to be just in your local area. With the internet, I mean, you can hit people all over the world, but the innovation would be, I imagine, there's not a huge amount of mortgage brokers that do a podcast or a live stream to talk about issues within property or housing or whichever, that actually she herself could be that leader, be the innovator in her kind of sector, and actually really kind of make a real change. That the whole point of the talk is that innovation doesn't have to be metaverse, VR, etc. It can just be innovating what you do using existing standard tools which are commonplace to anyone. And last but not least, it also doesn't have to be expensive. So yes, you can go one end of the scale and have a whole streaming TV studio like this with moving cameras and lighting and stuff, which is quite expensive to do. But the truth is, if the content's no good, nobody's going to care. And actually from your phone, you can actually create more compelling content. So it's not down to cost, etc. It is actually just having the belief and the faith to talk about stuff which you're kind of passionate about. And then just to kind of last but not least, when you're looking to almost get promoted in your business or career, as we said before, some people are really going to love what you do and some people aren't. But actually, if you're authentically you, that's all that kind of matters. And again, innovation in the sector that, as a management consultant, which is kind of what my day job is, most of my competition are classed as old white male and stale. So they're old white men, probably 50 plus. They're very knowledgeable, they're very good at what they do, but they might hate the idea of standing up on camera and doing a live stream. So innovation within my sector is like, well, I'll do it. And so I've been able to compete and raise profile and do stuff just through actually taking the leap that nobody else would, through a proven concept. And I've just tried to innovate and execute better than other people. But the point is, you can do exactly the same. So even if you're Simon, you've got a t-shirt brand or whatever it is that you want to do, it's just being consistent, seeing what works, seeing what you enjoy doing, finding out what your audience actually wants to hear and receive, and then just being consistent and kind of going for it and seeing what happens. And then if it works or it doesn't work, you can iterate, you can change, that kind of thing as well. So my name's Steve Pugh. If you catch up on this on YouTube, please check out roadmapmba.com. We go through real world business stuff that hopefully might be interesting, just ideas and concepts that might really help you think through different things to really help you on that path. And then likewise, anyone anywhere in the world can reach out, get in touch. I will happily send you a free copy of the roadmap course. At the end of the year, it'll be free on an app anyway. So I'm just kind of, trying to raise brand awareness and stuff as well. But thank you for your time. Cool. There we go. So for my last kind of bit today, what we're on 9:33, is I just wanted to talk about in-person events that if you would have asked me on Wednesday at 7 a.m. when I was driving into work for a client, I wasn't planning to go to any events this week. The plan was to just head down, work, bill money, and do my stuff and get ready for my streams and whatever. And I got the chance to go to something called the Teesside EXPO yesterday with Harvey and Hugo to promote their Pay As You Go offer, which is a really fantastic kind of offer, which I use personally to do my own PR and marketing. And this isn't a paid ad, I'm just being honest. And then also I got the chance to speak, which was the talk I've just kind of given, which was to do with innovation and marketing and things to kind of look at. But what was really interesting was that it was technically my second one since COVID. I did one in December. But actually it was really nice just to see a big room full of people talking to the exhibitors, seeing attendees, because one of the big things for this event, because it's free to attend, a lot more people show up because actually you get to turn up for free, see who's there, network a little bit and then leave without having to kind of cost anything. But one of the things that was really important and actually, I think was really good is that what you get to do is network with people. And I don't believe in networking for the sake of it. But what was really, really nice was to see people that I haven't seen in person, some of them ever, because it's just been online and stuff. But actually, it's the same kind of network and society and audience that actually you don't know them well enough that you probably send them an email, but actually you would happily chat to them and kind of catch up. And it was just really nice to kind of see people, because one of the things that a lot of companies talk about is community. And especially in a post kind of COVID world, often we always worry about, it can be quite lonely to kind of do what you do and sit in an office or sit at home and kind of do stuff. So actually just to go out, meet your network, because the other big side to it as well, it builds trust. That when you kind of meet someone in person and you can talk about ideas and you get to almost understand body language and approach and tone of voice, and if they listen to you and if they're interested, and there's so much more stuff that you can kind of communicate and build relationships in such a better way than you can online. It's just really, really kind of cool. But the thing I quite liked, it's the personal touch. It's the fact that you get to both catch up with people, reach out, see, ask them how their holidays were and do that kind of thing. That although I'm very into the online social kind of stuff, it's so nice to actually kind of see people in person and kind of talk stuff through. Because the one thing that I really, found yesterday was that it's the amount of people that will actually watch these streams, but they never like, they never comment, they never interact with it, but they still see it, and apparently they actually quite enjoy them, but they never interact. And that's really interesting, just because it almost gives you the little boost to kind of keep going, when otherwise, if you never got any kind of feedback, it can be quite soul destroying. So actually, when you see people in person at in-person events, you will get a lot more feedback on different stuff. And actually, it's quite nice as a business owner to kind of go through. And the other thing that I also find quite funny is that there are competitors of mine that I saw at the event, and people that kind of do social content stuff, that even though I've never spoke to them, I do know who they are because I've seen their stuff around, and it's that repeated kind of stuff. And it kind of proves it works. That even if I don't, I particularly know these kind of people, it proves that actually, even for them, as someone that has never liked or interacted with their content, I still know who they are. So it kind of proves that it works. But the other big thing that I think is really important, it's ideas. So one of the things that I love doing is to go out and both hear talks, hear from different people who talk on kind of different concepts, but even down to have different companies promote themselves in different ways. There was quite a few kind of dentistry related companies at this expo yesterday. One of the things that they had as part of their kind of promotion was actually toothbrushes, but these little teeth suites and different stuff. But it was just quite clever. It was quite cute, and it kind of worked. And it's that almost opening up to fresh ideas, because often when you talk about innovation, and which is the main lifeblood of any kind of industry, the whole thing is built on ideas about how you can almost take your business forward, and go into events and hearing different speakers and just getting inspiration from different places is kind of super important. So for me, I think in-person events will always be around. Personally, I think it's almost that you would have maybe 1 or 2 a year per network, so that you still build and maintain a physical connection with different people, that then it's much easier to maintain online and on calls and on podcasts and whatever, but you've kind of met them at least once. I think if you never actually met someone in person, you don't quite trust them in the same way, and I think that's really important. But actually, yeah, so this week I got the opportunity to take a chance on 2 different things, to actually go to an in-person event that I wasn't planning to. It was one of the best things I've done this year, both for all of the kind of formal and informal stuff and all the benefits that kind of came with it. They are tiring, they are hard work, but actually I kind of don't regret it. At 9:38, I've now been speaking for 45 or so kind of minutes, so my voice is kind of starting to go. If you're around on Monday, check out the Andy Preston interview. Hopefully it'll be a really interesting one. If you don't see it, hopefully you can still kind of catch up on YouTube and stuff afterwards. Anywhere in the world, if you want to reach out and find out more about the Roadmap MBA, please feel free to reach out on any of the kind of social channels on LinkedIn or whatever. I will happily send you a free course anywhere in the world. We're now in 28 different countries, and the honest truth is I want that to get to 100. Arguably, I want to get to kind of 200. But the progress and the process of learning how to launch a business and iterate and improve and stuff is actually, I really enjoy it. I almost see it as a game, which is something I spoke about with Josh Gill on Monday. So based on that, I'm going to call it a day today. Thank you for your time, that anyone that's ever kind of tuned in on these. Have a wonderful weekend. Don't work too hard. Happy Mother's Day to anyone in the UK or around the world if it's the same day, which is Sunday. Have a great weekend, and hopefully I'll catch up with you next week. Oh, cheers guys. Thank you. Bye bye.